Stocktake. My name is Alan Cole, and I work for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. And we are dealing today with changes in, I think, nearly all the personnel on the panel, me included. And then we're dealing with some speakers who weren't able to find the location very easily or got the numbers wrong or something. But we're adaptable, and we're here now, and we're very grateful that we have people from just about every continent, and we're all here, with a great deal of expertise in the subject that we're going to discuss today. So we don't have our first speaker yet, the ambassador, who's on his way. So I think I'm going to ask by asking Andreas, if you wouldn't mind, would you be happy to speak to us first?
Sure.
And then the ambassador will join as we go. So I'm going to hand over to Andreas Dahl-Johansen, and he's the director, the Deputy Director General of what we call NICFI, Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative. And I would say that for UNODC, they're an excellent and very important partner. Not only do they show great flexibility at COP side events, but they also fund one of our programs, the LEAP program, which is one of our most effective and programs of which we're most proud. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me? Is this on?
Yeah.
All right, so it's been an awkward setup here. We'll try to just touch on a few points. I mean, one, of course, as many of you know, what is the gravity of environmental crime? And I'm not going to talk about that for a long time, but just to point out that this is one of the biggest illicit economies in the world. We're really talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. And illicit flows of goods and capital drains developing countries of resources, of tax base. It undermines trust in the rule of law, national institutions, and democratic processes. And this is a very severe problem, as you all know. I will then think about what can we do about this. And I would point to, even if Agostina was not here, that's the guy I would have talked about. Because what Brazil has done with Ibama is really an example for every forest country that we work with, and we're seeing that being replicated, and those lessons are learned by other countries too. Rule of law requires both law enforcement, but it also requires opportunities, alternatives to the illicit economy. And Brazil's strategy that President Lula has embarked on with the new strategy for the action plan for the Amazon balances these two. And you can't have one without the other. Without rule of law, you cannot have a prosperous legal economy. Our main support to tropical forest countries on law enforcement has been through our bilateral partnerships, and our support to the Amazon Fund has been the biggest one, where the fund has been able to support IBAMA and other agencies that conduct command and control measures against illegal activities. Hugely important in the previous Lula administration to reduce deforestation, and we've seen the results this year of the signals that are sent and the actions taken to end impunity. Massively important feat, and we're seeing other countries succeeding in equal measure. Indonesia has the lowest deforestation in 20 years. We just met with them today and celebrated their success. 90% down under President Jokowi. They too have done a combination of measures. Of course, it's not about law enforcement only. That's one element of a bigger strategy of protection, but also enforcement and providing opportunities for local communities. One striking example also from Brazil is the recognition that the new administration has taken about the transboundary organized crime networks, and the Belém Amazon Summit. The Amazon Summit in Belém in August. We saw the Latin American countries come together with a vision to cooperate on addressing organized crime, often linked to other, not just about illegal logging or forestry, but but illicit capital flows, drug trafficking, and so on. Illegal mining being one major one. So these cuts across boundaries, and it's a challenge that the countries in the region came together to address jointly. Very promising development. So what can we do now? I think it is, one matter is to support those countries and jurisdictions that want to address this challenge. Another is to work with civil society. I mean, this has been one major part of our strategy too, to work with NGOs that detect illegalities, to work with journalists, with indigenous peoples, and to enable them to report on and take action against illegalities. We have, for the last several years, had a high resolution, or provided free of charge a high resolution satellite imagery for all tropical forests of the world every month. And we're seeing that this is being used in innovative ways by civil society, indigenous peoples, and journalists to work with law enforcement, work with governments to report on infringements and enable prosecution or enforcement. We're also proud partners, as was mentioned, of UNODC and INTERPOL. We have a long-standing relationship which has contributed to the investigation, arrests, and prosecution of numerous powerful actors and networks around the world. Lastly, we need to elevate this issue politically and to increase collaboration between all these actors. It's not a matter of just governments doing it, civil society doing it. It's about elevating the challenge and bringing solutions together. So with the United States and others, we have launched the Nature Crime Alliance, and we're grateful for UNODC's contributions as part of the secretariat of this effort to both elevate the issue politically, to mobilize resources to address the challenge of illegal activities that affect environment and forests, but also to bolster collaboration between these actors. And we hope to see many of you engaged in that process as it goes on. It was launched last year, or earlier this year, I guess, and we're hoping to see many of you involved in that going forward as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Deputy Director. We've now got our first speaker arrived, His Excellency Ambassador Versetti, who's struggling like many of us with the layout of the site. So very welcome indeed. And I want to take the opportunity while he's here to draw attention to the fact that this is an event that we do jointly with the Convention on Biodiversity, and we will be showing a video from them shortly. So thank you very much, Ambassador. We've got some slides for you, and we'll make our way through them as you go.
Good, all right. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to address all of you at this high-level session on the occasion of the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference. First of all, I want to thank the Executive Director, Ghada Waly, for the invitation to participate in this very important event. Allow me as well as to extend the sincere apologies of His Excellency Mr. Santiago Pena, President of the Republic of Paraguay, who due to unforeseen circumstances couldn't be here today. I'm honored to stand before you representing his commitment to our shared objectives. We firmly believe that it is essential to generate these spaces where we can discuss the relationship between environmental crimes, biodiversity loss, and climate change, where we can establish actions and define key stakeholders for international cooperation to reduce illicit land use change. In August 2023, so a couple of months before this event, the National Forestry Institute of Paraguay issued the National Report on Forest Cover and Land Use Changes, which determined that in last year, Paraguay had little less than 18 million of forest cover, hectares of forest covered, that is 44% of the Paraguayan territory. This forest area represents an area the size of Cambodia, Tunisia, or Uruguay. A large part of this forest is in the hands of the private sector. The forest lost due to illicit crops was more than 10,000 hectares in the period between 2020 and 2022. This area represents 20% of the total change in native forest in the eastern region of the country. Due to this illicit activity, my country lost a storage capacity of carbon equivalent of more than 2.4 million tons, or in monetary terms, more than 24 million US dollar in carbon credits in the voluntary market. One of the great challenges we face today is the fight against deforestation due to illegal logging for growing illicit crops, an activity with consequences for climate change due to the decrease in carbon storage capacity. Although often localized, forest crime has far-reaching global implications for its role in accelerating carbon emissions and further destabilizing our climate. This combination of illegal logging and deforestation, resulting in the degradation and loss of forests, seriously affects the life and safety of those who depend on them. This crime also affects private natural reserves. The voluntary contribution of private owners to the national system of protected areas of Paraguay is extremely important in terms of nature conservancy, but also supporting neighboring communities, providing sustainable jobs, health, and education. It is essential to strengthen legal mechanisms to hold both individuals and corporations accountable for their role in illegal logging and deforestation. Currently, work is being done following the intervention protocols jointly between the environmental and security competent authorities. In 2000, the government of Paraguay implemented a strong reform on our legal framework to fight illegal logging, to improve the performance of competent authorities, and in 2005, we passed a bill that established a moratorium for the land use change in the Atlantic forest that reduced in only 1 year the deforestation rate by 90%. In the last decade, successful restoration programs have been implemented through the National Forest Restoration Plan, promoted by the national government with the support of the private sector, as well as the civil society. Together with the effective management of carbon credits, these initiatives have the potential to strengthen environmental conservation through ecosystem restoration and climate change mitigation. At the same time, these efforts can improve security by curbing illegal activities such as narcotics trafficking that often exploit deforested regions as transit routes. These efforts not only safeguard the environmental and mitigate security risk, but also protect important financial investment, both foreign and domestic, by intercepting illegal logging and trafficking in forested regions. The National Forest Authority, as a contribution to a recently established national plan to fight corruption, has launched a technological system that optimizes our resources and combats environmental corruption, which allows detecting and reporting changes in native forest and notifying cases of violation of forest law, including illicit crops in forest areas. Fighting illicit crops in Paraguay, in addition to reducing greenhouse gases emissions due to avoided deforestation, contributes to preserving one of the richest regions in the world, the Atlantic forest, as well as the Chaco region. Paraguay has made a commitment to reduce its greenhouse gases emissions by 20%. And to achieve this, it has made it clear that it requires implementation means from international cooperation. The fight against illicit crops that generate deforestation is a key pillar to achieving this commitment. Protecting Paraguay forest and also critical forests around the global south goes beyond conserving biodiversity. It is intrinsically linked to the safeguard of critical economic interest, foreign investments, and living conditions of the communities. The loss of this forest would imply the loss of the opportunity for participating in programs that value environmental assets, such as carbon credits that can constitute a unique incentive to conserve forests and recover degraded areas, but also to support with health, education, and food security programs neighboring communities to these areas. I also take this opportunity to call on all states and partners to continue contributing to the work of UNODC to ensure a robust program that allows implementing actions to face these challenges, in particular in the 50 forest hotspots in the global south. Dear participants in these auspicious days, I would like once again reiterate my gratitude to UNODC in the person of Mrs. Ghada Waly and her entire team for their unrestricted support for our work in this sector. Today we take a step forward the future as a country and as a member of the international community, and we wish that our joint work will continue uninterrupted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And we're now going to go to our third speaker, who's Colonel Ahmed El Zaruni, the Deputy Director of International Bureau of Affairs in the Cabinet of His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Interior.
Thank you.
Colonel, please.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Actually, I was about to speak in Arabic, but I believe no one will understand as long as I don't see anyone is carrying the headphone. So I'm delighted to welcome you here in Dubai, and the United Arab Emirates will remain to be a great destination for people who seek to deliver a great outcomes as you. No one has a doubt that we really need to stand to each other and work together, enhance the cooperation, working, sharing the ideas for our planet. Otherwise, we will not have this events or a lot of announcement, a lot of intention from everyone. And that shows we are really care for the next generation and beyond. Today, we are going to talk about many things that maybe I have in this region challenges that are different from other regions, but we all agree if we didn't take an action from this moment, we will suffer, our next generation will suffer because what we are doing in this planet. UNODC and other stakeholders that we are going to work, or we already work as a Ministry of Interior of United Arab Emirates, achieve a lot of things, honestly. And we are having our commitment to continue working together on different scale, different projects. Last February, His Highness Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Interior of United Arab Emirates, Lieutenant General Sheikh Saif bin Zayed Al Nahyan, launch an initiative, a unique initiative, with Her Excellency, Ghada Waly, Executive Director of UNODC. What we call it, International Initiative for Law Enforcement for Climate. There are many sub-initiatives with different stakeholders. We have INTERPOL, we have UNPOL, Europol, we have also from private sectors, ISRI, all of them working together, start like last 9 months, achieved many things, honestly, and I would like to thank our partner from INTERPOL also here. The announcement of these projects will be on December 3rd, after 2 days. We're going to have 2 events. Ministerial Forum in the UN Blue Zone for the first time that we have a ministerial forum to talk and address the role of law enforcement, how we can do better as a first responders. If there is any crisis will happen, we as a law enforcement will be the first responders. So we will be to be blamed. So we need to be in the dialogue of climate change. Since we start the initiative, we noticed that there are many, many questions, shows the lack of the awareness on the law enforcement communities. And when I say law enforcement, I mean not only police. I'm a police officer from Ministry of Interior. However, we have representative from customs. We have representative from border protections. And all of us, we need to understand our role. We cannot work reactively. We need to be more ready, more aware. Our capacity building should be more capable to work proactively. There are achievements that INTERPOL did, UNODC did, UNPOL. We trained more than the training sessions that we did during the 9 months, more than 40 countries get benefit of. We have more than up to 300 police officers and law enforcement officers being trained just to enhance their awareness of their actual role. And we will continue. We already have a strategy plan from 2023 till 2025. But we will have for the next strategy, based on the outcomes, based on the sharing of the knowledge between the law enforcement, we will have a better achievement for the future. Maybe the most important announcement will be on December 3rd, after 2 days, what we call Abu Dhabi Call to Action. And here we are inviting everyone from the law enforcement to be ready for taking a real action and real role to achieve better and what the community deserve. So I would like to invite you for the green zone. We were going to have 2 events, as I mentioned, in the blue zone and in the green zone. Just you can go and for the COP28 event, and you will see our initiative and the schedule. Thank you.
And now I'd like to pass the floor to Mr. Rodrigo Agostinho, who's the president of IBAMA, the Brazilian Institute of the Environment and Renewable Natural Resources. Thank you.
Thank you, too. I'm very glad to stay here. I really wanted to thank you to UNODC because we are working hard in Brazil against the illegal deforestation, illegal mining, logging, the trafficking of our endangered species. We are working hard against the environmental crimes, and the UNODC are a very important partner. We really need to work in cooperation to have the good numbers, to improve our protection. I have a very short presentation about our work. I work in a federal agency, in the most important environmental agency of Brazil. We are working hard. We have 20% of the whole biodiversity of the world. We have half of our territory with forests. We already deforested more than a half. So it's very difficult to work in Brazil. We don't have the best budget. We have a lot of problems with deforestation, and in the last government, we lose our governance. So for us, we have a mission. We are working hard in the last 35 years. That's the issues that we are working, the combat illegal deforestation, the fires, the illegal mining. So many very difficult situations. In yellow is the deforested areas in Brazil. Green, our forests and different kinds of vegetations. We have 6 biomes, 6 different kind of vegetations. So we have the numbers of deforestations besides different kind of biome. In the Amazon, we have an increase, a very high increase until 2004. So we have a very important decrease until 2012, and now the return of the increase. And now in this year, we cut half the number of deforestation. It's very difficult and dangerous, this kind of work. We are working with remote enforcement. We receive the satellites images, and we create a system of alerts, and we create embargoes, remote embargoes in the recently deforested areas. We are creating embargoes. So in these areas, the embargoes, we prohibit any kind of activity. For us, it's a very important tool. We are working with surgery of cattle, the illegal cattle. It's very complicated to work with this, but we have a very huge problem here. We are working with different strategies, with traceability, because we have the legal cattle and the illegal cattle. So it's very, very complicated. We have the numbers. We are working hard against the illegal timber, the logging. It's incredible. In this year, we stopped 100,000 trucks of illegal wood. It's incredible what's happened. So we are working with technologies. We have a system of traceability, and with the use of technology, we can create suspensions, notices, fines, and we are suspending a lot of management plans because they are destroying the forest. They are having a lot of money to create different opportunities of deforestation. So for us, it's a very huge problem. It's one more picture. We are working hard with the presence of our men and women in the critical areas. It's dangerous kind of job, but for us it's very important. We know with the satellites where the problem is bigger, so we decided to put our people in these areas. We are working again a lot in the indigenous lands. We have more than 500 different indigenous people in Brazil, but we have a very strong problem with illegal mining. It's this picture show what is happening in Brazil now. So in this year, we're working in more than 100 indigenous lands. We are working a lot of jobs. Each green point in that map is one fine of our organization. We are destroying the equipment. It's very ugly, this, because we are producing carbon. But if we don't destroy, they still destroying the environment. For us, is what we have. We destroyed this year 35 planes, a lot of excavators, machines who are destroying our forests to illegal mining. That's enforcement. With our job, we have results of fines, embargoes, surgery, destructions. But for us, what is more important, it works. We really need to stop the illegal crime. We really need to stop deforestation. We need help. We are working with different organizations. We are working with federal policy, with so many things. We have a minister, a very strong minister, Marina. Marina is a very strong woman who are leader. She's a very important leadership. She creates the policies, and I execute the policies. But we know that we really need more different strategies. We need to create opportunities to the people who live in the forest. We really need to a democratic carbon market. We really need to create different opportunities, because here is enforcement, and it works, but with this, we are still having problems with the illegalities. That's this, and I'm very glad to give this speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And I should just take the opportunity to say what a great partner Obama has been to UNODC, and how grateful we are for your cooperation. As I said, this event is co-sponsored with the Convention on Biological Diversity, and I think we're going to see a video from their acting secretary now.
Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, many thanks to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime for hosting this event and for the opportunity to address you. As you know, biodiversity provides people with food, medicines, shelter, and fuel. Ecosystems help to regulate the climate and provide us with clean air and water. Biodiversity is a source of livelihood for many people around the world and an integral part of our culture and identity, especially for indigenous peoples and local communities. But biodiversity is under great threat. This is driven by deforestation and other land use change, overfishing, unsustainable hunting, pollution, invasive alien species, and now increasingly climate change. Crimes that affect the environment, such as wildlife trafficking, illegal fishing, and illegal mining, contribute to these drivers of biodiversity loss and to climate change. For example, illegal deforestation directly affects ecosystems and in turn reduces their capacity to store carbon and their resilience to climate change impacts. And the decline of populations of keystone species that are often targeted by illegal hunting, such as elephants and rhinoceros, disrupts the functioning of ecosystems, weakening ecosystem resilience and compromising carbon sequestration and the many other contributions of these ecosystems to the livelihoods and well-being of people. In fact, it is no exaggeration to say that the illegal wildlife trade is part of the nexus of the interrelated crises of biodiversity loss, climate change, and land degradation that could jeopardize sustainable development. The links between environmental crimes, biodiversity, and climate change are complex but real. I welcome the work of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime to elucidate these links. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, adopted by the parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity last December, is a comprehensive plan for everyone to take action to halt and reverse the loss of biodiversity by 2030, and to put nature on a path to recovery for the benefit of people and the planet. Collaborative action is needed to achieve its ambitious goals and targets. In particular, action to combat illegal wildlife trade is an essential part of efforts to achieve Target 5 of the framework, which aims to ensure that the use, harvesting and trade of wild species is sustainable, safe and legal, while respecting and protecting customary sustainable use by indigenous peoples and local communities. In turn, that will enable progress on Target 8, whereby ecosystem-based approaches or nature-based solutions can contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Often, it is indigenous peoples and local communities that are among the most directly affected by environmental crimes, but they are also at the forefront of defending the environment. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework clearly acknowledges the important role and contributions of indigenous peoples and local communities as custodians of biodiversity. The framework is underpinned by a human rights approach to targets, updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, and putting in place the concrete measures to implement them. This is a major opportunity to ensure synergies between national plans addressing biodiversity and those addressing climate change, and to include initiatives to combat environmental crime in those plans. Alignment across policy priorities and instruments is essential. The experiences and perspectives shared by panelists in today's event will help to promote the joint efforts needed. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you. So it just remains for me to close up this evening's session, and I thought I would do that by mentioning some of the activities that can be done by the international community in this area. For UNODC, today we have our experts out in the forests of Latin America, in the jungles of Africa. We have folks out on, trainers out on Coast Guard vessels, in ports, in airports, in police stations, and working in prosecutors' offices. And all of them will have a role across the full range of environmental crime. We work in the areas of forestry and wildlife, in fisheries with minerals, and also in the area of waste. We've had many successful results. We're particularly proud of our work on a mobile timber identification application in Peru, in the ports of Vietnam, detecting illegal wildlife, and our work recovering huge volumes, some 84,000 tons of plastic and other illegal waste in Southeast Asia in the last few years. And we're also very heavily involved in the training of prosecutors and judges. But we can't do any of this without the cooperation of our partners, and I'm very grateful to the representatives of Paraguay and Brazil today, and we're also extremely excited for the new international initiative on law enforcement for climate, which will be launched over the weekend. And we see that as exactly the sort of initiative that can bring real change in this area. So I'd like to finish by thanking all the speakers, thanking very much the Secretariat on the Convention on Biological Diversity, who co-sponsored it with us, and thank you to all of you for staying so late in the evening to listen to what we had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Environmental crisis, we stand at the crossroads. Crime and corruption degrade ecosystems, making our planet less resilient against climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. Illegal activities and deforestation exacerbate the loss of species and natural habitats. Our oceans suffer from marine pollution and overfishing, reducing their capacity to combat global warming. The waste sector, responsible for 10% of greenhouse gas emissions, fuels the crisis. As the full impact of climate change takes shape,